Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to episode 2 of Fueling NRR. Today, we're going to be speaking about the onboarding stage of the customer journey and how a multi-agent AI operating system can rewrite the entire onboarding playbook for your organization. A little bit about me, your host today. My name is Matt Anger. I've been in the field of information technology for 20 plus years. I spent a large portion of my time in consulting, specifically SAP consulting, and then quality engineering and quality leadership. I'm also well versed in customer success, having spent several years at a company known as Tricentis, helping with SAP ran organizations in QA and testing. Also, very well versed and experienced in account recovery and get well planning for distressed customers. I've helped to design and architect a variety of different customer success processes and training and enablement programs to help organizations streamline their CS operations. So, our Fueling NRR is a weekly video series designed to help deliver candid, research-backed conversations at the intersection of AI and customer success. We provide actionable intelligence for CS leaders who refuse to leave money on the table. We publish weekly, so every Tuesday we publish a new video out to our YouTube channel. We also announce it on LinkedIn. We have a very practical focus where we really look into real frameworks, real stats, and real outcomes. We want to make sure that we're painting a picture that's reality and not something that cannot be achieved today. All of our conversations are AI forward. We are attempting to connect ideas to AI possibilities. And of course, the team that delivers these video talks is the same team behind the architecture, the design, the development, and the delivery of Dextruss, the multi-agent AI operating system. So let's talk about our agenda today. If you haven't noticed, there is an onboarding crisis in the world of SaaS. This is why 50% of churn starts in the first 30 days. And the data says it is indeed broken. Number two, we're going to focus on the anatomy of an AI-powered onboarding delivery mechanism and why multi-agent orchestration actually looks like to a real customer onboarding workflow. Then we'll deep dive into the 5-agent onboarding engine. This is where Piper, Callie, Stan, Donna, and Renee work together to eliminate time to value drag. After that, we're going to focus on what metrics actually matter. And these are the KPIs and metrics that tell you if your AI onboarding is actually working. And then we'll leave you with some educational and actionable information to help you build your AI onboarding roadmap. It's a 90-day action plan to move you from manual chaos to autonomous orchestration. So let's talk a bit about the onboarding crisis and why broken onboarding is a number one silent killer of NRR today. So this is what the data is saying. 75% of users are abandoning SaaS products within the first week if onboarding is confusing or slow. 50% of customer churn can be attributed directly to a poor onboarding experience. 88% of customers say we received an ineffective onboarding, and only 12% rated it as effective. And $75 billion is lost globally every year due to poor customer service and onboarding failures. This just goes to show why the first 30 days define the lifetime of every customer relationship. Yet most CS teams are still running onboarding in their spreadsheets, email chains, and hope. So, as a CS leader listening to this video talk, have you been in a position before where you knew unequivocally that the onboarding for a particular customer was subpar and later led to turnaround issues that you had to put into place for the customer? Now imagine a situation where you iron out all of those issues that you have seen so many different times with customers, not only with the delivery of the onboarding plan, but the handoffs that need to occur between the pre-sales team and the customer success team so that the customer success managers truly understand the promises that were made in those pre-sale cycles to those prospective customers before they actually signed on the dotted line and became subscribers to your platform. All of that we're going to talk to you today. We're going to provide some practical tips on how you can navigate around that and hopefully improve your onboarding experience with AI. So here are the 5 root causes as to why onboarding generally fails. Number one is organizations do not have clear time to value targets. So B2B customers expect ROI demonstrated quickly. So 83% of B2B buyers say slow onboarding is a deal breaker, yet most teams have no defined TTV milestone. So you can't improve what you can't measure. So the idea behind this is your team should look at the products that you sell or the platform that you sell and determine based on cohort or based on, industry or, the complexity of the setup rather, how long it should be for a customer to get to that first value point along the customer journey. And there can be several of them too. It doesn't have to be just one value point. Sometimes there's multiple value points. So make sure that you have those clearly defined and you know them for every cohort of customer that you service today. Number two is one size fits all journeys. So a lot of organizations that we have seen treat onboarding generically. They treat a 500 seat enterprise the same way as a 5-person startup. So that's definitely not a path you want to take. You want to personalize onboarding. This helps to boost retention. And it helps also to provide better visibility into the progress. So this is backed by research, it's backed by statistics. I'm sure you listening have experienced this before where a vanilla or cookie cutter approach to onboarding is certainly not going to work. You want to get very precise and specific to that customer and make it visceral for them. Number three, manual coordination drag. So what is this? So CSMs are spending up to 40% of their time on onboarding administration, according to surveys. They are scheduling kickoffs, they're chasing stakeholders, they're updating project plans, and every hour of delay increases churn risk exponentially. If your CSMs are covering 50 different customers and their focus is on onboarding maybe 10, every 6 months or what have you, there's going to be some churn in there, of course, as well. You can't have them exclusively focused on all the administrative activities. They need to be available for those empathetic moments, those strategic moments with customers to have those deeper conversations. This is where a multi-agent AI operating system can help relieve a lot of that administrative overhead that your CSMs have today and help reduce that manual coordination drag. Number four, silent drop off, no early warning. So, according to a study, only about 20% of users complete onboarding checklists. So, I know you put in a lot of time to those onboarding checklists that you provide to your customers, and you're very proud of them. But the reality of the situation is that many users are not even going through the entire checklist. So, teams don't know who's falling behind until it's too late, and users who don't engage within 3 days have a 90% churn rate. So this silent drop off is something that you're really not fully aware of who's completing the onboarding, unless you have some kind of dynamic way to measure it and to follow up and to nudge your customers to continue moving through that onboarding funnel in your platform or in your product. Number five is broken handoffs between teams. So I've seen this a lot of the times, mainly between pre-sales and customer success. So think of it this way. During the pre-sale cycles, there's often a proof of concept or a proof of value. During those sessions, you're going to demonstrate the technical capabilities of the platform or the product that is being sold to a prospective customer. Oftentimes, there are a number of set use cases that you want to prove out to the customer. And if you meet those expectations around those use cases, then obviously the solution is viable and the customer makes a buying decision at that point. Also, too, during the pre-sale cycles, as part of those pilots or proof of concepts or proof of values, you often speak to the customer about the goals that they intend to achieve with the adoption of the platform or product that you're servicing or you're selling to that customer. And these are business objectives. These aren't necessarily proxy metrics about, activity related metrics about what they're attempting to achieve. These are business metrics. So in the world of quality assurance and testing, they might be aiming to achieve an improvement in test coverage or a reduction in release velocity time or a reduction in test or a test cycle velocity, reduction in defect leakage rate. There's a bunch of different key performance indicators that can be measured. The important thing is to document those and properly communicate those to your post-sales customer success team so that they can help create the necessary goals within their system of choice, whether it be Gainsight, whether it be Churn Zero to Tango, Dextruss, what have you. They can be able to document those goals accordingly and create the necessary success plans and associated CTAs that enable them to chart and navigate the course with the customer to the achievement of those business objectives over time as they traverse through onboarding into growth or into adoption, into growth, and then into the renewal cycle. There's nothing more powerful than showing the customer that they are achieving their business objectives that they set out to achieve. Even if they haven't completely hit the number, at least they're making progress towards it. Those conversations are very powerful in the renewal cycle. So always keep that in mind. Also, too, we see a lot of broken handoffs between teams when it comes to customer success and professional services. So, if you have engagement managers that are assigned to your customers and customer success managers also assigned to the customers, sometimes there's a loss of context of what's occurring between that engagement manager and the customer success manager and that customer. So, from surveys and from research, 23% of B2B companies have cited poor product adoption during onboarding as their leading cause of churn. Most of that is handoff driven. So very important. So these are your 5 root causes that we've come up with as to why onboarding fails. If you think of any other ones, please drop us a note at connect@dextruss.ai or leave a comment. We'd be happy to discuss it with you. So let's talk about the true cost of broken onboarding. So manual onboarding versus AI orchestrated onboarding. If you think about most products, you're looking at a time horizon of 2 to 3 months for the average onboarding cycle. When you have an AI operating system like Dextruss folded into your end-to-end customer journey, you can generally reduce that significantly to about 1 month max with AI coordinated milestones. This helps to obviously move things faster and get your customer to value much faster. And we'll talk about that important point, why time to value is so important when it comes to reducing churn risk. Number 2 is 75% of users disengage within 1 week if your onboarding process is broken. So your CSM is human and your digital CSMs are human. If you're assigning them, 200 customers each, being that CSM is probably going to have a little bit of difficulty, if not a daily migraine, having to nudge users along to complete all the different steps in the onboarding workflow. Just imagine it's not just one individual at a customer. They have 100 customers and 25 users as an example. You can extrapolate that to see how quickly and unwieldy it becomes to manage that much information in terms of nudging customers through the customer journey. So with an AI operating model like Dextruss, you have the ability to proactively nudge systematically through your AI agents, and we'll talk about that in a second, to catch drop off in real time. This is really a game changer because you want to keep nudging all those users along, making sure they're moving through the training and enablement that you're providing, making sure they're moving through any kind of live lab exercises that you're providing with it within the customer. Not everybody's motivation level is the same, so some people might require more nudges than the other. Yet there's, you'll have leaders and laggards, but with an AI operating model, you can easily identify that and you can systematically automate the nudges and the email outreaches to get them moving towards completion. Number 3 is CSM spend 40% of time on administration. We talked about that in a previous slide. That's a lot of time. That's the longest pole in the tent for customer success managers is the overhead of administration between all of their different customers. So with an AI operating model, you can have an intermediary sort of process in place or layer in your process for AI to handle scheduling, to handle follow-ups and tracking. Number 4 is no visibility into who's falling behind. This is also solved when you're using a product like Dextruss, where you actually have a live dashboard and automated alerts for every single account. Number 6 is there's broken handoffs and you lose critical context. So very important. Human beings are flawed, just as systems are flawed, right? there's not a perfect answer to anything, but what I can tell you is this: there's been many times where, there's change in positions within organizations, and there's brain drain from one department to the next, and somebody who has a tribal level of knowledge around a particular customer moves on to another organization or another customer. Some of that information is lost in the mix. With an AI operating model, all of that information is committed to memory. So it's available forever. So as the customer evolves over time and you have changing in personnel and resources at your organization, at least you can rest assured that your AI operating model has the memory capability to carry forward with what has been communicated to it previously. Also, we have a generic customer or generic journey for every customer. AI orchestrated onboarding helps you personalize each onboarding path by segment, by role, and by use case. So there's different pathways that can be taken based on what that customer is using your product for. It's very important to get highly personalized for each of your customers as you're onboarding. The better your onboarding processes are, the less likelihood there's going to be any talk of churn because they'll be fully embedded in your product and it'll become highly sticky in their organization. So please keep that in mind. AI can help you accomplish that. Certainly, you can accomplish a semblance of that manually, but with an AI operating model, you can do it much easier. So let's talk about the anatomy of AI-powered onboarding and what multi-agent orchestration actually looks like today. So traditional onboarding, it's a linear checklist. Multi-agent onboarding, however, is a living, breathing system where specialized AI agents monitor, act, coordinate, and adapt in real time across your entire customer journey from day one. So let's look at these three different buckets here and just talk about it briefly. So we're all familiar with the traditional onboarding. If you've listened to episode one of Fueling NRR, we spoke about the 10-year horizon in the evolution of customer success. We spoke about how, in 2004, the first officially, forever customer team was established at Salesforce. And then a couple years later, the title of customer success manager was created. In 2010, Gainsight launched. And from there, the rest is history, with over 100,000 customer success manager roles globally, according to Dextruss. We have traditional onboarding, which was static checklists, one per customer. Your CSM would manually track milestones that were achieved as customers were onboarded. There was email chains for follow-up. There was no real early warning systems for potential drop-off in place. It was all how competent the CSM was in following up and understanding and remembering where all the customers were at. Now, keep in mind, when a checklist goes out, it's not a checklist for just that organization. It's a checklist for each individual user that's coming onto that product or platform. So this can be very cumbersome to manage for your customer success managers, depending on how many customers they have. And in the traditional onboarding, we spoke about this in a previous slide. There's a lot of context that's lost at every handoff along the way. There's a nuance. There's relationship related information that you might not necessarily know. And it's important to understand that at every turn. And, it was mainly a one size fits all journey. You're trying to templatize it down to create scale. However, that's not good. Although you want to create a templated approach so that you can scale quickly, that also becomes your enemy because it's not tailored enough for the customer to stick with you over the long term. So you see the dilemma there, right? You're in a mindset of scale, scale, scale because you want to grow with your customer base and as you adopt new customers. So you create this template approach, but that template approach is too generic. So you have to think of ways of how you can leverage technology, such as a multi-agent AI operating system, to get more specific with each and every customer that you're onboarding and make it visceral to them so that they understand the value of your product unequivocally. There's no ambiguity, there's no doubt in their mind as you approach that renewal cycle. And they're at a point where if they haven't achieved their business objectives, they are seeing clear progress towards the attainment of those business objectives. So let's look at the bucket in the middle. This is automation only. So this is kind of between obviously traditional onboarding of your your customers versus a multi-agent operating system such as Dextruss. So for automation, yeah, you're starting to put in some triggered emails and tasks. You see that in tools like Gainsight. You have rules-based nudges. You're limited to predefined paths, though, and you can't adapt to behavior signals very quickly. And you're siloed from CRM and support data, and there's no real collaborative intelligence. A product like Dextruss and other multi-agent AI operating systems can drop right into your tech stack and interoperate with all of the different products that you're using today. So if you're using Zendesk, if you're using Tatango, if you're using Churn Zero, if you're using Gainsight, if you're using Salesforce, if you're using Gong for that matter, if you're using Pendo for product telemetry, it's important to have a product that plays nicely with all of those different products where that information can feed into a centralized data repository, if you will, or be read through an API, through an integration. And then the LLM, the large language model, can do its magic, so to speak, based on predefined rules, prompt instructions, and such to allow your organization, your team as a customer success leader to flag milestones automatically that have been achieved, to personalize the onboarding journey based on segment and role, to proactively intervene when certain individuals are dropping off in the onboarding phase. Again, going back to the point that for each customer, you're going to have a whole swath of people that are onboarding onto your product or platform, usually across different departments globally. So that even becomes more complicated when you think of the cultural differences, the language barriers, things like that. Large language models can handle all of that in real time so that your CSM can kind of sit in the cockpit and handle more of the strategic level conversations, and each CSM can handle a lot more accounts. And also, too, the multi-agent AI operating model provides you unified context across your agents. And we'll talk about the different agents that come out of the box with Dextruss here in a few slides. And even more powerful is the fact that your operating model learns as you go. So it's going to consume the historical information that you have available, and you're sitting on a gold mine of data, right? So you have all this information available to you of what customers have churned in the past that you can feed into the LLM. The LLM can identify patterns of what generally leads to downsell or churn or what leads to upsell and cross sell. Now, of course, there are nuances, there's edge cases, there's exceptions to the rule. However, pattern recognition is very powerful. And, it's not to say that humans can't do that today with, fancy Excel spreadsheets and analysis and stuff like that. However, it becomes exceedingly easy to use large language models to understand things very quickly and apply playbooks in such a way where you can fill gaps and you can double down on areas that have led to frustration in the past with customers, that have led to downsell, that have led to negative NPS scores, that have led to ultimately churn and moving to different customers. Now, there are things we know that you cannot predict. However, with an AI operating model, you not only can look at the internal equation in terms of product telemetry data and sentiment analysis and where the customer is at in terms of achievement of business objectives. But you could also set it up to look at the outside world as well and pick up on alerts that are coming through from anything that's hitting the wire, so to speak, press releases, anything of that nature with your customer's name in it. You'll be able to self-optimize your AI operating model based on some of that information too. So let's take you through a typical onboarding life cycle. You can see 5 different phases really in a general or a standard onboarding life cycle. You're going to have kickoff and setup, configuration and training, your first value milestone, adoption acceleration, then handoff along the way. So how Dextruss is built from the ground up is we have 5 different AI agents that are interoperating with one another to help you achieve these particular business objectives within said period of time. So, as an example, Piper is your project manager who's going to help coordinate that kickoff scheduling with customers as they're onboarded into your system. There's going to be draft emails that she can quickly write up, and this is a companion AI agent, and your CSM will have full control over what is sent to the customer versus what is not. You can set up auto provisioning of project workspaces. You can map customer goals to personalized milestone plans, so on and so forth. Now, into the configuration and training, this is a very critical and important part. This is where Piper and Stan will work together because when you get into the configuration piece of things, there may be instances where break fixes, defects, if you will, are found. Unfortunately, that's the nature of software. And having an agent in place, an AI agent in place to help deflect or create a support ticket that can go to the application development team for a quick fix is very important. That way, your CSMs, they can stay focused on providing your customers with strategic guidance and instilling confidence in that customer that things are being handled on the back end and they shouldn't worry. We're going to get beyond this. We're going to move this. They provide status updates. They'll have the energy to be the face to the customer. Number three is the first value milestone, right? So this could be anything from, adoption signals that, they're hitting so many logins, they're using features, there's a heat map, or they're using certain integrations. So when the customer hits their first defined milestone, Callie's, the customer success AI agent of Dextruss. She would trigger a celebration touch point and surface upsell readiness signals to the customer success manager. Now, they might not be quite ready to, have that upsell readiness conversation, so to speak, because they're still in the onboarding stage. Let's be honest. But there's that point of validation that the customer needs to celebrate, and it creates momentum throughout the customer journey. Number four is the adoption acceleration. This is when Callie runs those personalized engagement plays based on usage patterns. Okay. And Renee, who is part of this multi-agent AI operating system, she's going to look for early signs, early churn signals. These could be declining logins, support spikes, and she's going to work to trigger intervention workflows before the CSM even knows there's a problem. So you have a detection system in place for your CSM that is going to work 24/7. Analyzing product telemetry data, giving your CSM what we call here at Dextruss a morning brief within Dextruss, so that your CSM knows, okay, there might be a problem with this customer over here. There might be something for you to look at over here. This information is readily available at their fingertips. Number five is graduation and handoff. So this is where Donna orchestrates. Donna's another one of our AI agents. She orchestrates the formal onboarding to success handoff. So this ensures that all agents pass a complete context brief to the ongoing success motion. So this ensures expansion readiness is scored, and Callie opens that first renewal upsell conversation. Now, depending on your contract cycles or your contract lengths, some customers, depending on if you're in the enterprise software world, they could sign 3-year contracts. So the first renewal is not going to occur until 2.5, 3 years out. Other customers, they're on 1-year renewal cycles. Some of you that might be watching this today, your customers are month to month. So it's important to ensure that you understand each and every one of your customers' renewal cycles and act accordingly. So let's talk about the 5-agent onboarding engine of Dextruss and how Piper, Callie, Stan, Donna, and Renee work together. So I kind of alluded to this before, but each of these 5 specialized agents orchestrate every stage of customer onboarding. They work in parallel, they share context, and they hand off seamlessly. So Piper is going to really be the driving force behind that onboarding stage of your customer journey. So she's going to auto schedule kickoff calls, build personalized milestone plans by segment, send those proactive nudges when progress stalls, and escalate to Donna when service level agreement risk is detected. Callie, though, is still part of the mix. So she's your customer success manager AI agent. She is tracking feature adoption. She's looking at all that product telemetry data, making sense out of it, developing a heat map, looking at all the users that are part of that onboarding plan, ensuring that nobody's falling behind. She's also helping celebrate those first value touch points, informing the human CSM that oversees that account of different things, so that the human can have those conversations with the customer and their sync up calls. She's going to surface upsell signals at the right moment and run personalized engagement plays by use case. Again, the personalized engagement is critical in your onboarding delivery. This helps prevent churn. It helps ensure that the product is sticky, and it helps keep your customers happy, frankly. And we have Stan, your support specialist. Stan is part of the mix as well. He's going to help with the automatic resolution of quick questions that come through. Stan will also be involved in the escalation of complex issues, providing full context of that to humans further up your support channel, and feeds ticket patterns to Callie for adoption signals. So that's another thing. Callie is going to receive information from Stan. Stan is going to be integrated with your ITSM tools, let's say Zendesk or ServiceNow. Those The pattern recognition that Stan provides through the large language model is provided to Callie. Callie uses that information to understand if there's any at-risk signaling that is occurring during the onboarding stage of the journey. And if you keep following our episodes, in episode 3, we're going to get into the actual adoption stage of the customer journey, and we'll talk in depth about that as well. So let's move to Donna. She's the orchestrator AI agent. She's going to maintain unified customer context across all your agents. She'll orchestrate agent handoffs. She'll also trigger SLA alerts and escalation workflows, and she generates onboarding health reports for customer success leadership. Often these reports are real-time in nature. The AI agent sort of works behind the scenes to make sure that those reports are getting all the information necessary, or you could set it up to post to Slack if you're using that, or MS Teams if that's a preferred method as well. There's different ways to look at how your reporting would be communicated outward in your organization. And then we have Renee, your retention specialist. Okay, so Renee is kind of looking at everything. Right. She wants to make sure that, any of these health signals, if there's anything that's out of whack, she's going to be aware right away. She wants to flag out risk accounts, early in the customer lifecycle before they churn. So if there's problems, we want to intervene as quickly as we can to hopefully course correct and implement a get well plan when adoption stalls. And she's going to pass risk context to Callie for strategic intervention. Okay, let's dive into each of these a little bit more. I don't want to kind of over analyze each of these, but I want to talk about some of the research that we've come across and why it matters. So Piper for AI project manager, the net is that companies using, based on our research, AI coordinated onboarding have reported a 73% reduction in onboarding time and a 3-time improvement in onboarding completion rate. That's information from 2025. It's very powerful. Think about that for a second. 73% reduction in onboarding time and a 3-time improvement in onboarding completion rates. So if you think of that in itself and think of how that feeds into your NRR and how your GRR rather is going to be protected based on the fact that you're delivering an outstanding onboarding experience to new customers. So if you do the math, and if you think of all these new customers that you're selling and bringing into your organization, if you have an onboarding process that runs smoothly, gets the customer to value quickly, and they're reporting that they're happy and their teams are adopted with the product and they move into the adoption stage, your sense of confidence skyrockets that customer is more than likely going to renew during that renewal cycle coming up in a year from now. Let's talk about Callie. The big thing, obviously, is accelerating time to value. So let's talk about the net. So AI monitored onboarding drives 35% faster time to value and significantly higher day 30 and day 60 activation rates, directly protecting NRR from the first day. Okay. So having an LLM at your disposal, an AI agent to help track product adoption signals from day one, ranging from login frequency to feature depth to integration activity, milestone completions, you're in a much better position to drive accelerated time TTV. And when customers hit their first defined value milestone, Callie can trigger a personalized celebration touch point, reinforcing that win with your customer. And this, what in turn that does is it helps create a deeper emotional investment in your product. And that's what you want. You want to ensure that the champion or the product owner at the customer that your customer success manager is interfacing with creates and cultivates a deep emotional investment in the product. It's very important because that individual is going to fight and advocate for the usage of that product over time. And if adoption velocity drops below a certain target, then you can set up your multi-agent AI operating system to automatically adjust engagement sequence. So switching from email to in-app messaging as an example, scheduling a check-in or surfacing training resources. So with Dextruss, you can deploy an in-app widget that is not only useful for reactive messaging from Stan as an example, but Callie can leverage that same mechanism, that same window of that in-app widget to proactively communicate with your customer. How powerful is that? Proactive communication with your customer in app from an AI agent who understands all of the telemetry, all of the information about that customer, and interacts with them scientifically based on that information and pattern recognition to help ensure that customer is getting the most value that they possibly can out of your product. Furthermore, Callie can help identify expansion ready signals during onboarding itself. So when a new team member is added, increased data volume, feature requests. So all of these expansion briefs would be passed on to your customer success manager. So let's talk about Stan, the most basic of AI, if you think about it, because everybody seems to move first with deploying an AI support agent. And it's no different than this. We've done this for our customers. It helps eliminate friction and wait time during those first critical 30 days. Some customers prefer to speak to a human. Other customers are completely comfortable interacting with an AI bot to answer their questions about the product that they purchased. So Stan in this case can help intercept every support ticket generated during your onboarding stage, classifies those questions or those inquiries by the type of question, and decides whether it's truly a bug or if it's an escalation worthy issue. At that point, Stan can certainly move it on to a human through some predefined rules set up within Dextruss. Furthermore, by deploying an AI support specialist, you can aim to resolve up to 70% of your tier one onboarding tickets autonomously. So this is in minutes. It's not like hours or days. You're not waiting on a human to work through a big queue. Stan can work across in parallel, thousands and thousands of customers, answering all their questions. There's no delays. Dan doesn't need to take bathroom breaks. He doesn't need to go to lunch. He doesn't sleep. He's available 24/7, 365. So this is the elimination of the number one friction point for new customers trying to reach first value. Number three is for every ticket resolved, Stan feeds the pattern back to Callie. So something like this customer is struggling with integration setup, it triggers a proactive in-app guide before the next user hits the same wall. And if you're listening here and you're interested in seeing a demonstration of this proactive in-app guide, so to speak, that Callie triggers, let us know and we'll set up a demonstration of how this works in real time. Because there's a widget that we can deploy to your customer facing solutions. And based on the configuration and setup that you have in Dextruss, Callie is going to interact with those customers through that widget. You also have complex issues. Complex issues are escalated to human CSMs with full context attached. So this is your ticket history. This is your account health score. This is your milestone status and recommended next steps. So CSMs never really start from zero. So the net result of deploying an AI support specialist is a 15% rise in AI assistant resolutions during onboarding links directly to an 11% drop in 90-day churn because customers who get fast answers stay. And that's according to a study conducted by Zendesk in 2025. Pretty powerful. Let's move on to the next one. This is Donna. This is your AI director and orchestrator. imagine getting an 8-time improvement in onboarding with overall agent AI agent coordination. And this is exactly what happened at SS&C Blue Prism in 2026. So they deployed an AI agent orchestration for retirement plan onboarding, and they were able to achieve an 8-time increase in faster onboarding speed, dramatically improving data accuracy and customer satisfaction. Pretty powerful. So Donna is going to maintain a unified customer memory thread. So every agent interaction, Piper, Renee, Callie, all of that is going to be committed to memory with Donna. So she's going to update your milestones, ticket resolution, adoption signaling, all that. That's logged into a shared context layer accessible by all agents. So this is Donna. That's the shared context layer. So when a handoff occurs, say to implementation or, professional service to customer success to renewal, Donna generates a full context brief automatically, ensuring the receiving agent or CSM has everything that they need. And she monitors SLA risk across all active onboarding accounts simultaneously. So if any account is at risk of missing a critical milestone, Donna triggers the appropriate escalation workflow. And she produces weekly onboarding health reports for CS leadership, portfolio-wide TTV trends, milestone completion rates, so on and so forth. How we've set it up for clients today, some clients prefer a readout in Slack, as an example, which can be automated from this multi-agent AI operating system that provides CS leadership and the rest of the organization with that sort of thing. We also have built-in dashboards as well. Then you have Renee, the AI support retention specialist. Her primary goal is to detect and reverse churn signals before they become churn events. So she'll work in conjunction with Callie to create get well plans based on any risk signals that she uncovers during any stage of the onboarding journey. So Renee begins monitoring for churn signals from day one of onboarding, not day 60. So any combination of things like such as login drops, support ticket spikes, milestone delays, negative sentiment, things like that will create an immediate red flag for Renee to analyze. So she's tasked also when a risk signal is detected, she's going to automatically trigger a segmented intervention. So low risk gets an automated re-engagement sequence, high risk gets an urgent CSM notification with full context. This is where human empathy comes into play. This is where the human touch needs to come into play. So Renee tracks those silent churner patterns as well. These are customers who appear engaged on the surface, but show declining feature depth and support avoidance. That's a leading indicator of non-renewal as well. And she feeds retention intelligence back to Piper. So the onboarding journey can be adjusted for other customers or this customer. Think about it this way. The different users in the onboarding journey for a certain customer are sometimes not going to be swimming at the same speed, or they're not going to be rowing at the same speed. So it's important for Piper to feed signals that she's uncovering, or Renee signals that she's uncovering back to Piper so that Piper can adjust the onboarding journey accordingly for those specific users. Okay. So there's always a dynamic shift. There's always dynamics at play in terms of what's happening for each of these agents. And Renee is looking for all those risk signals and feeding it back to those agents. So the agents learn from every at-risk pattern to make future onboarding more resilient for other customers. So that's the thing. Over time, your AI operating model continues to learn from the data, continues to learn from your customers, and continues to improve. So the net result is companies using AI-powered onboarding, they have reported a 30% increase in customer retention within the first 6 months, and that retention seems to compound directly into NRR growth. And that's from an analysis done by Fullview in 2025. So let's look at measuring what matters, the KPIs that tell you if AI onboarding is actually working. So I don't know if you're measuring these, but time to value is an important target or an important metric to measure. Cutting TTV by 20% lifts your ARR growth by 18% for mid-market SaaS, according to a study in 2024. So you want to get your customers to value as quickly as possible. And value is different for every single one of your customers. So make sure you have that conversation with them. Onboarding completion rate, the benchmark industry average, 10 to 20%. So users who complete structured onboarding are 3 times more likely to become paying long-term customers. So they're taking it seriously when they're going through the onboarding. They're going to get more out of the solution. They're going to understand it better. They're going to apply your product better to their specific discipline. So this metric directly predicts renewal probability according to a study. Let's talk about the onboarding to expansion rate. So the best onboarding doesn't just activate customers, it surfaces their next expansion needs. So AI assisted teams identify 25 to 35% more expansion opportunities during onboarding. It's important to know that too. Let's talk a little bit about support ticket volume during onboarding. So high ticket volume during onboarding signals friction. A 15% rise in AI assisted resolution links to an 11% drop in turn or in churn. So this is precisely why you want to deploy Stan to be available for customers in app, available to ask questions. So Stan can target less than 5 tickets per account in the first 30 days. Anything above that, there'd be a risk signal, right? That Renee would obviously inform Callie about, so intervention can be had. It can show issues around the product as well. Okay, let's talk about early churn rate. New SaaS companies seeing up to 15% in churn one. Most of it is in the first 90 days. So this underscores the importance of your onboarding stage or your customer journey. Okay, let's go into your 90-day AI onboarding roadmap. This is where we take from manual chaos to autonomous orchestration. So three different phases, very simple of how to lay this out for your organization. And if you want this in Excel format, we can send it over to you. We can also do a complimentary assessment for your organization to help you to map out your 90-day roadmap to move from manual to autonomous. Okay. So your first phase is your foundational layer. This is really where you're going to talk about your as is your current onboarding journey. So identifying every step, every handoff, and every bottleneck that you see today across your product or platform. You want to define your time to value milestone for each customer segment as well. So you're going to have enterprise customers that obviously are going to move a little bit slower. They're like an oil tanker when you go to turn it. And you're going to have the small and nimble, quick reaction sort of vessels out there that can move quick. There's your smaller customer base. So your time to value for the quicker reaction vessels is going to be much faster than it is for your larger cruise ships. Your cruise ships are not going to move the value because it takes a little bit longer to turn them and navigate them through the different channels out into the open ocean. So keep that in mind. You want to audit your data sources. You want to make sure that you're looking at, your systems that you're going to integrate with, your CRMs, your support systems. Where's your product usage data? Are you using tools like Pendo, or do you have, a bunch of product telemetry that's funneling into a massive data lake? And what's accessible via API to identify that? You're also going to want to identify your highest friction onboarding touch points. Where do customers fall silent? And select your pilot segment, your highest volume, most predictable onboarding motion. This is important as well. You definitely don't want to boil the ocean, and you don't want to go live without piloting it with a segment of your customers. It's very important that you're careful in how you approach things. The reason you want to be careful is because AI is probabilistic in terms of the outcomes or the outputs. It's less deterministic than, you know, prior systems and building different processes. So you want to be able to iteratively test on a smaller segment of customers and make sure that you can refine and tweak as you go before you roll it out to your larger customers. Phase two. This is day 31 through 60. This is actually where you're going to deploy your agents. So as a Dextruss customer, you would work with a customer success manager on our end to help you set up, configure, and deploy all of your different agents across your different customer facing solutions. This is pretty straightforward in a Dextruss platform. And as part of this too, there would be some training for your CSMs to use Dextruss as a cornerstone of their day-to-day processes as well. Okay. Phase three would be full orchestration. So this is where we would get into the point where we're layering Callie for adoption monitoring and Renee for early churn detection. We're expanding AI onboarding to all new accounts in the pilot segment, and we're helping to identify expansion signals surface during onboarding. So you start your first AI triggered upsell motion, and then you can set phase two targets such as scale to full portfolio and proactive NPS. So let's talk about the ROI for AI powered onboarding. And again, this is just information that you can take away and kind of noodle on it and corroborate it against other research and other statistics out there. But the main takeaways is this: you're going to see 30% increase in customer retention within the first 6 months if you improve your onboarding flow. You're going to have faster onboarding, up to 8 times faster onboarding with AI agent orchestration versus manual. You're going to save a bunch of money by having the manual processes taken care of by your AI agents. And most importantly, you're going to see an acceleration of time to value achievement from your customer community, which is tied directly to an improvement in your NRR and your GRR. Okay. So Dextruss, we talk about this in every episode. I just want to give you a quick outline. If you haven't done it already, point your browser to www.dextruss.ai and you can kind of take a look at each one of our agents. Here you can see the onboarding agent is Piper in this case, but as mentioned, Piper works in coordination with all those other agents in your multi-agent stack. So please take a look at the website and reach out to us if you have any questions. So here are the key takeaways from today. Okay, we spoke about this, but as a customer success leader, you should know at all times how important it is that your onboarding phase is really that highest leverage moment in your customer lifecycle. So 75% of users who churn make the decision within the first week. Now, this doesn't apply to all enterprise level deployments, but they have an initial impression of your product after the first month. So the more methodical your onboarding process is, the more well-designed and well thought out it is, the better that experience is going to be for the customer. Number two is multi-agent AI orchestration transforms onboarding from a simple checklist into a living adaptive system. This is where this multi-agent AI operating system really shines, to collaborate 24/7 and to drive every customer to value. Number three is the ROI is truly undeniable. So you can do the research yourself online, but it's evident that using AI agents in the onboarding phase of the customer journey is only going to help customers get to value faster. It's going to help improve GRR and ultimately improve NRR for your company, for your enterprise. Number four, the 5 KPIs that matter: time to value, day 30 activation, completion rate, ticket volume, and early churn rate assessment. If you're not measuring them, you can't improve them. And if you have trouble understanding these types of things, we offer a free complimentary assessment. You can reach out to us at connect@dextruss.ai. We're happy to speak to you about how you can measure some of these different things. Things that you can put in place. And number five, we gave you a 90-day roadmap, starts a 90-day roadmap to map your journey, define your time to value, deploy Piper and Stan in the first 30 days, and measure against your baseline. So the gap between AI onboarding leaders and laggards is widening every quarter. It's March of 2026 now, and we hope that this particular episode has opened your eyes to the power of AI in your onboarding stage. Stick with us for episode 3. We're actually going to be deep diving into the adoption stage of the customer journey and talking about how AI can help improve that as well. Thank you for watching this episode 2 on Fueling NRR. You can always reach out to us at connect@dextruss.ai. We love hearing from prospective customers and current customers. And feel free to check out our website. We're at www.dextruss.ai. Please, if you haven't already, like and subscribe. And also follow us on social media channels. We're out there on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. We're everywhere. So we look forward to hearing from you soon. And thank you for watching.